Hey yo, what's up and welcome. I'm the one and only West Coast King, and welcome to what might be the most important video I've ever made regarding career mode in FIFA. In this video, I'm going to lay forth my ideas on how the game should be changed and what things need to be added to FIFA career mode in order to make it not only a more popular game mode, but just to make it better in general. Now, what this video is not going to be is talking about specific leagues and licenses and things like that that need to be changed. No, I'm not going to be talking about what specifically needs to be done for MLS. If you've been around here, you know I'm an MLS guy. That's not what this is about. This is about the game mode itself, the core structure of career mode. So in order to save career mode, we first must define career mode. And I think this is actually the problem that EA is having with FIFA. They're not sure which direction they want to go for this career. Are you a manager or are you going to be the owner? And actually, I'm going to be comparing FIFA a lot to Madden in this because they're both EA franchises, and Madden actually gets this right and hits it on the head, I would say. There's very little wrong with the Madden career mode compared to FIFA career mode, which is in a bit of a gray area, really kind of in between the two. Now, as a manager in a manager career, which is what they call it in FIFA, what you should be focused on is one thing and one thing only, and that is the success of the club on the field. Winning games, winning trophies, building the club up via the players and things like that, and that's pretty much it. You shouldn't be worried about ticket sales and shirt sales and season tickets, which are what some of the objectives are for you in a manager career. That has nothing to do with a manager at all. They really don't have any way to influence that, and even if they did in real life, in the game, there are no options for you to influence those numbers anyway. So that really, it's kind of a game-breaking mechanism that really just needs to be separated, and as a manager should be taken out completely. Now, if you are looking to get more involved in those things, the finances, the stadium, the staff, and the players included, then you're going to be looking for a owner career. And that is what FIFA is missing desperately, and that is what is going to save career mode in FIFA. Now, I did say we were going to be comparing FIFA to Madden, and that is what we're going to do right now, because in Madden, they do separate the two. You can be just the head coach and focus on winning and winning alone, or you can be the owner and still have everything that's included in the manager career, but also be involved in everything behind the scenes as well. So here we have the basic screen for the owner career in Madden, and the biggest part that we're going to be taking a look back, actually the only part we're going to be taking a look at, is this tab right here called My Owner. Below that, you can see the My Coach thing. That is where all of the manager stuff would be in a manager career. But for this one, we want to be taking a look at the My Owner tab. And each of these individual menus in this tab is what we are looking for in FIFA to give it that added depth and playability that's been lacking for so many years. So to start out with, let's actually take a look at the team value. This is kind of the overview of everything you have to do as an owner. From the overall team value, which is at the top. Right now, we're in this with the LA Chargers. They're 16th in overall team value, which is pretty much dead middle for the league. There's 32 teams. We're 16th. Dead smack dab in the middle. But for FIFA, that might have to change a little bit because this is compared to everyone else in the league. Obviously, in FIFA and World Football, there is multiple leagues spread out all across the globe. So maybe this might be broken down into your league value or compared to other teams in your league, as well as other teams on your continent. So if you're playing in Europe, you have compared to everyone in Europe, and then also the final one would be on a global scale as well, compared to every other team in the world. But this overall value is then broken down into individual categories, and each of these categories can be influenced by something in the game. Whereas in FIFA right now, you have to sell a certain amount of shirts, but you have no way to influence that. Each of these rankings and each of these numbers can be influenced in Madden, and that is what FIFA is sorely lacking. So as we move down this list in this tab, we get to finances. This one is fairly important. I would say it's one of the most, maybe it might be the most important. For now, I'm going to say it's the second most important tab. So to start off with, we have the tickets. That is pretty much what you'd expect. You can influence ticket sales by changing the price of your tickets. For everything from the suite tickets, which are the VIPs coming to your game. If David Beckham's going to show up at one of my games, he's going to be sitting in a suite. I'd probably comp the suite, but still, you get what I'm saying. We also have club tickets, the mezzanine tickets, which are where your average Joe are going to sit, and then the cheap seats as well. You can change all of those numbers, and you can also see the fan feedback for that and see how they feel about your ticket prices, which also then influences the popularity of your club. Moving on to the merchandise tag, this is where you can actually influence the number of shirts that you sell for your team. So instead of just telling me to sell a certain amount of them, I can actually see how we're selling and what the problem is. If the fans think they're too expensive, or if we're selling a ton of them, they might be a little bit too cheap. I can raise the dollar value of them and then sell more, get more money back from selling shirts. That is where this menu comes in handy and is vital to the success of one of those objectives that's already in FIFA. Not only do we have just the general team apparel, we can look at the specific jerseys of the most important or most popular players in the club. That would be huge. Phillip Rivers is the most popular player at this football team. I can change the value of his shirts to make it a little bit more expensive, as we are going to be selling more of those regardless. I can get a little bit more money back from that. And then we also have a tab for just general memorabilia. Maybe I can boost up a little bit of signed footballs by my favorite, or by our most popular player, and little helmets as well. Just everything added into this gives it an extra layer of depth. Now, the next tab on this list is concessions, and this one may seem inconsequential. You probably don't care how much it costs for a bag of potato chips or crisps if you're from across the pond, but it actually is fairly important. Not the actual dollar value of each one of these things, but the menu that goes across the top there. Right now, we're on the basic food items. We have 2-star food items, 3-star food items, and then 4 and 5-star. You can see, though, I can't actually sell any of the foods in the 4 and 5-star tab because our concession rating at our stadium is too low. So I actually have to spend money to increase the concession rating to then be able to sell the higher priced items, such as a pulled pork sandwich, some sushi, or some Korean barbecue, to be able to bring more money into the team from the concessions. So that is a nice little quirk to the concessions and the stadium upgrades. And the last tab on this list is the team revenue, which basically is already in FIFA, but you would have to update it to reflect what's being added to the game. So you have the income broken down by concessions, merchandise, tickets, expenses, player salaries, staff salaries, but you also have stadium maintenance and upgrade costs and things like that, because you will be able to upgrade your stadium. So now from finances, we move on to marketing, and this one may or may not pique the interest of very many people here. I find it interesting being an MLS guy, and here is why. In player marketing, you can see who your most popular players are and what their personality levels are, and each player in the game has their own personality levels, and here's why this would be important to an MLS team, especially in real life. I would take the example of DC United. Before the season, they brought in a player named Yamil Assad from Atlanta United. Good player, solid player, important to the success of that team. Then, of course, later in the year, just recently actually, they brought in a player by the name of Wayne Rooney. Now, Wayne Rooney's personality and popularity are going to be miles ahead of Assad. They're both really good players, but for the growth, popularity-wise of the team, Wayne Rooney would be very, very important. He'd help sell shirts, he'd help revenue, season tickets, single game to everything. The money value of Wayne Rooney is greater than that of Assad. So in this screen, I mean, it may not be very important to big clubs or very many teams in Europe at all, but for MLS, this actually would be a very, very important menu. In the next tab down, we have team popularity. Now this one, honestly, I could take it or leave it, but for the terms of FIFA, this might actually be pretty darn interesting, especially considering the preseason tournaments you can do, because now that would actually have a little bit of an influence in this menu. Here we have the local popularity, the regional popularity, and the national popularity. For FIFA, obviously that would change. I would say you'd probably have local popularity, which is your basic hometown fans. If you're Manchester United, that would be the city of Manchester. Then you would have national popularity, how popular you are within your own country, and then you'd have global popularity, and that is where you could really see where you go in a preseason tournament reflect on the national or on the worldwide scale. So you go to a tournament in the United States, your popularity in the United States grows, and then you can get more revenue. So it would be an interesting little quirk. And the last tab on here is media relations. And this one, regardless if anything else is added to the game, this small little detail kind of needs to be fixed. Because right now there are press conferences in FIFA in career mode, but they're absolutely pointless. They have nothing to do with anything. There is no reason to do a press conference ever in FIFA career mode. However, if you change that a little bit and your responses actually influence something, even if it's as small as your response either influencing fan popularity or your response influencing your team's overall performance, that would be an upgrade. So say you're asked the question in the press conference, the way you respond, say you want to increase fan popularity a little bit, you give a nice little sugar-coated answer and the fans are all giddy and happy about it. Whereas if you're trying to influence your team and get the most out of them and really gear them up for a game, you go fire and brimstone in that press conference, you light a fire under the team, you get a better response from them on the field, but maybe you take a little bit of a hit in fan popularity. Just something like that to actually make press conferences worthwhile. So as we head back to the main owner screen now, we're going to skip the stadium menu. We're going to go to that one last. I'm actually going to skip fan happiness as well. All that does is show you how happy fans are with each aspect of your team. It is important to keep an eye on that though, because the happier fans are, the more they buy tickets and shirts and concessions and things like that. And fans actually react differently based on what your team does and what city your team is from. For instance, if you lose with Manchester United, fans are going to be pretty pissed off about that. Whereas if you lose with, I don't know, Burnley, it's not going to influence fan happiness as much. But we're actually going to skip down to the next one, which is the staff menu. As an owner, you have control over the staff in your team, and this is where things might get a little bit tricky in FIFA. I like the idea of being able to hire your own manager. Even though technically, yes, you're still running the team, being able to hire a manager that influences different aspects of your team could be pretty interesting and fairly important in the owner career mode. So for instance, let's say you're taking Lincoln City from League 2 in England and building them all the way up. You've reached the Premier League, you've won quite a few, you've been there for quite a few years, you're winning, you're starting to make your presence on the European stage, but you need to hire that coach to take you to the next level. Hire that big time manager. So you want to go after like a Jose Mourinho or something like that. Not that I like Jose Mourinho, because I really don't, but you get what I'm saying there. Or maybe a Pep Guardiola or something like that. So this is where you would be able to do that. Right now, our head coach is a level 1, which is the very lowest you can have. He's a rookie head coach. That's kind of what you'd be looking at as a League 2 in English football. And as you rise up, you can hire better level managers, or you can actually increase the level of your manager with experience points and things like that. So you can stick with your manager. If you want to be loyal to your guy and have him manage you all the way up through the stratosphere to the top of Europe, you could try to do that. Now, the other two staff spots on this team in this menu are scout and trainer, though I think that they would have to be changed for FIFA. Instead of scouting, I think that should be left with the youth academy stuff, which probably needs to be revamped as well, but we're not going to get into that in this video. Instead, I think here we'd have a strength and conditioning coach and then a technical coach as well. And each one of them would have their own specialty areas. So say your strength and conditioning coach, his specialty is in sprint speed. So he increases the sprint speed of your players if you use drills on that particular area on that player. So you train your player in sprint speed, you have a specialty of sprint speed on your coach, they get a little bit more out of that drill. Same with the technical coach. Say he specializes in curve. You train a player in curve, with this coach, they get a little bit more out of that. So I think something like that could be really, really useful in FIFA. And the last tab on this list is team success. I'm not going to show you this one. I'm not going to bother, because it just basically shows you how good your team is on the field. You can see that in the standings. You don't need a graph to show you that. So I'm going to skip that one. Instead, let's go back up to the stadium tab. I left this for last because, in my opinion, this might be the most important and maybe the easiest addition to FIFA. Now, in this menu, there is a lot of vital information, everything from how old your stadium is to the overall rating of the stadium, how happy fans are with your stadium, the size of the stadium, which right now is indicated by a single number. I'd rather have it, be the capacity, how many people actually fit in your stadium. That would make a lot more sense, but it is what it is. On the left-hand side, we have how much money we have to spend, and then each individual category that we can change in the stadium. Now, in this menu, there's a lot of vital information from how old the stadium is to the overall rating, the fans' happiness with the stadium, the capacity of the stadium, or the size, which in Madden, it's indicated by a single number. I'm not too keen on that. I'd rather actually see the actual capacity, how many fans fit inside the stadium, but that can be changed for FIFA, and I think it would have to be. And then on the left-hand side, you can see how much money we have to spend, and then each individual level and ranking of each thing in our stadium. Now, the reason I say this is one of the most important things, maybe the most important thing that needs to be added to FIFA, forget everything on that left-hand side, parking, team store, fan zone, bathrooms, concessions, whatever. If those are not added to the game in those other menus, then whatever, it doesn't matter. But seating, capacity, stadium size, how big your stadium is, does matter and is a vital part of running a football team, no matter where you play in the world. Think about it like this. Let's go back to the Lincoln City analogy. I don't know why I keep going back to Lincoln City, by the way. I'm not trying to pick on them. I know that they're new to League 2 this year. That's why I'm doing this. They're kind of on the rise. So say you're taking a career mode with Lincoln City and you're building them up. You've gone through League 1. You've gone through the championship. You've been in the Premier League for a few years. You're starting to emerge on the world stage. You're hosting Barcelona for a Champions League semi-final. But you're still playing at the same rinky-dink little stadium that you started the career mode with all the way back in Season 1. That does not make sense. And actually, in real life, I don't even think you're allowed to host a Champions League game unless you meet certain stadium requirements. So, in reality, that actually wouldn't be possible. But what you need to be able to do is upgrade your stadium, whether that is adding seating and adding bits and pieces here and there as you work your way up through the leagues, or eventually at the very end, maybe you want to build a brand new stadium, just like Tottenham has done in real life. They're starting to emerge on the world stage. They've had some good, nice, consistent years in England, so they built a new stadium this year. However, that also influences your money and what you can do with the team. Just like Tottenham has brought in no new players this season that want to save money for that whole new stadium. We'll have to see how that affects their success this season, but that also would be reflected with your club. So that pretty much brings this to a wrap here. I'm not going to go any further into any other ideas I have. If you want to see kind of a part 2 to this, that would include how players are brought in and what influences players wanting to actually come and play for your team, because right now you can sign any player in the world as long as you have the money to do it at any team that you have. So you can sign, if you're in the Australian A-League, you can sign Messi as long as you have enough money to do it. That really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So there are some things that I think should be implemented to kind of change that and influence how you can buy players and why players would want to come to your team and kind of their wants and needs and things like that. And that's already in another video game, and I can compare those two as well. So if you want to see kind of a part 2 to this, let me know in the comments below. But that is going to be a wrap on this one. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on everything that I just said, whether you agree with some of it, whether you disagree on part of it. Let me know in the comments below. I'm interested to see what ideas are floating around out there, because I know there's a lot of opinions on what needs to change with FIFA career mode. And at the very least, it's going to make for an interesting conversation, so I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say on that. So that is it for this one. If you did enjoy it, make sure to let me know by leaving a like below. Subscribe if you're new. If you want to see a part 2, also let me know, and I will see you guys in FIFA 19. See ya.